evening, everybody. Today is Monday, November 15th, 2021, and this is a Moscow City regular council meeting. Brandy?
Welcome, everyone. Please join me and stand in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brandy. Okay, first order of business is our consent agenda.
To which I would move approval as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Art and a second by Gina to approve the consent agenda as stated. I will start with Maureen.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Art.
Aye.
And Brandy.
Aye.
Okay. Staff recognition report. Gary, do you have anything for us this evening?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Okay, item number 3, mayor's appointments. I do not have any this evening. Item number 4, public comment, mayor's response period, where we allow 15 minutes for folks to be able to get a chance to get up and speak and say what's on their mind to us. As long as it's not an issue or something in front of planning and zoning or the Board of Adjustment or on this evening's agenda, please come up, state your name, and let us know what is on your mind. Well, without further ado, we will go ahead and move on to item number 5, acknowledgement of the election results. Gary Reedner, you have got the podium, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. As indicated in the staff report, Idaho Code Section 50-412 requires that the city council, which is the jurisdiction in question here, must approve or accept the canvass of the votes, which is done by the Latah County Commissioners. As you recall, several years ago, the Idaho legislature delegated or directed that even municipal elections will be handled exclusively by the county where the municipality is located. So what happens is after the election results are tabulated and finalized, they go to the county commission. The county commission then canvasses those precinct by precinct and accepts them. Then they send the results down to our city clerk. So Lori received those last week, and it's the council's responsibility to accept those canvassed election results.
Okay, questions for Gary from anybody?
I move that we accept the canvassed election results from Latah County.
Second.
Okay. Brandy made a motion and Sandra made a second to accept the canvassed election results from Latah County. I will start with Maureen.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Art, you bet. And
Aye.
there you go. So thank you, Arthur. Okay, we will go on to item number 6. Request exercise the option to transfer 1/2 interest of in the Moscow or Pullman Moscow Regional Airport to the city of Moscow. I like to call it the Moscow Pullman Regional Airport. So Gary, you have this one as well, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. What you have before you today, as you recall, for several years, 2014 to be exact, when the Pullman and Moscow jointly operated the PMRA, Pullman Moscow Regional Airport, since 1939 by means of an agreement. We call it now the Joint Operating Agreement. So the way that we do that is that every year the council in its budgets operating and capital expenses to be paid to PMRA, and the operations of the PMRA is done by the Pullman Moscow Regional Airport Board. So that arrangement has worked very well. In 2014, when the runway realignment project, which was supposed to be a huge project, as you know, we've lived with it now since 2014, the FAA came forward and said that we needed to modify our joint operating agreement, mainly on the way that the board was appointed. So those changes were made and we were asked to enter into a new agreement. We did so at the time, and in doing so, council wanted to insert or negotiate a section of that agreement that would ask the city of Pullman to deed the city of Moscow one half of the real property and fixtures of the airport if Moscow wanted to do so. Moscow has indicated that they do wish to do so now. As you know, the city of Moscow, our taxpayers have participated $2.5 million of local match in the runway realignment project. And just at a committee meeting a week ago, we discussed what participation or proposed participation might be in the airport terminal project. And that participation, if certain conditions are met, may be up to $2 million. So with that kind of capital investment, council wanted to explore having half the airport deeded to us as per the agreement. So the way the agreement reads is that if the council desires that, then they need to provide written notice to the city of Pullman that they wish to do so. I've been in contact over the years and certainly within the last couple of months with the airport board and the city of Pullman, including the city of Pullman's attorney and the airport board's attorney, indicating that this was likely the direction the council was going to go. So what you have in your packet today is a resolution of the city council, which typically we use when we obtain real property or want to obtain real property, which essentially requests Pullman that we would like to exercise that section of the agreement and have half of the real property and fixtures of the airport deeded to the city of Moscow.
Questions for Gary?
Excuse me.
You know, Gary, I do want to see if there's anybody from the public that would like to comment on this. If you have questions or concerns with this or like the idea, please come on up and we'll give you a couple of minutes. State your name. If you would like, you so may move up right now. Okay, thank you all. Gary, I'll turn it back over to the council. No questions for Gary. What?
I think there was some discussion at Public Works and the questions were answered just about why now and the legal opinion that there are no downsides and only upsides. So I have no further questions after that discussion.
Well, one thing I will say, for the last several years, we've been working due diligently with an attorney, expert on this out of Spokane area, to basically see if there was anything that would be a snafu with it, what would be wrong with it or whatever. And we've that has all been satisfied. There has been no question on that at all. So,
So
Maureen.
basically, that means our liability doesn't change at all.
Liability, according to the attorney, you've read the opinion letter, is likely due to the operations. The operations is handled by the airport board. There were some things, and I can expound on that a little bit. The attorney looked at the liability policy, the limits of liability, which was $20 million. He indicated that typically the liability limit should be more. So we contacted ICRIMP, our liability and casualty risk management pool. They also suggested that a $50 million limit would be more in line with current practices. So as the mayor can attest, that was brought up by Tony Bean, the executive director of PMRA, at their board meeting, and they're moving forward with increasing those limits. We also talked to ICRIMP about any potential downside to the city for our own city, since we will own that property. We will experience a slight increase in premiums because of the value of the airport, which typically happens when you obtain property. So it shouldn't increase our liability at all. And as indicated, basically the reasoning is we already serve as sponsors to the airport, which means that as far as all of the FAA grants, as you know, the runway project is tipping out around $158 million. Local match was about 12.5 or 13 million or something in that area. And our citizens participated $2.5 million of that. So we already have the financial responsibility to see that the FAA grants are spent in compliance with the FAA regulations and that the airport property is used appropriately.
I think it's a great idea and I'm excited. I just wanted to have it on the record because we did talk about that before, but it's those issues to make sure if anybody's listening to it tonight, that they hear that as well. Thank you, Gary.
Maureen, the insurance, the board approved moving the insurance from 10 million to 50 million.
Right.
At the past board meeting that we did have. It's
Mhm.
approved by the airport board.
Well, I move that we adopt the proposed resolution.
I think Gina had a
Second.
question.
Nope, I was gonna move. That's okay.
Did you get the second
I
then, Gina?
did.
Okay. We have a motion by Art and a second by Gina to adopt the proposed resolution to ascertain the transfer of 1/2 interest of the Pullman Moscow Regional Airport. And I will start the roll with Brandy,
Aye.
Art,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
and Marie. Was there something else you needed with that,
Aye.
Gary?
Sir, just waiting for the.
Okay. Okay, item number 7, which is a public hearing. We have an Idaho Community Block Grant for a fire engine. We do have Elise Anderson with us as well as Chief Brian Nickerson. So,
Oh, don't they look pretty?
hello, Elisa.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to be here with you tonight. As we shared at the Public Works Finance Committee last week, we are preparing a Idaho Community Development Block Grant funding request, and it does require that we have a public hearing, which the mayor will open after I do my presentation. I have a little video after this that if you haven't seen how a fire engine is made, you'll get a preview of it. This was a video from the last one that we ordered.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that made me think of Zach, our prior employee, who's now, I think, in Massachusetts or somewhere. He made that video for us. He was really good at that. So tonight I'll just go over what the requirements are for an Idaho Community Development Block Grant. They are administered by the Idaho Department of Commerce, and they receive their funding from the U.S. Housing and Urban Development Agency. There's allocations made to each state based upon their population and poverty and age of housing within the state. And this is under the Housing and Community Development Act of 1964. The Idaho Department of Commerce distributes the federal Idaho Community Development Block Grant funding to cities and non-entitlement cities, or to counties and non-entitlement cities. And I have it in small, but I think we have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and I think Twin Falls is soon to be also designated as an entitlement city. So basically they have over 50,000 in population. And so we're still under that level. So then we actually have to compete in each of the categories and submit applications. In order to qualify, we have to meet national objectives. And the grant applications are scored on competitive factors. Those are matching funds, need, and readiness to proceed. The funding category for a fire engine is public facilities, and the maximum award is $500,000. As you saw, building a fire engine is somewhat like building a house or something else, so they fall under this category of public infrastructure. For an application to be eligible, the city has to meet 3 of the requirements and be a non-entitlement city, and have it consist of a project that is eligible under public infrastructure or the public facilities, and address a national objective, which is one of those is benefiting low and moderate income persons. And the city of Moscow is 53.65% LMI. And you have to be over the 51% to qualify. So that gives us our eligibility criteria there. Under the National Fire Protection Association, the fire apparatus within the city have to meet the standards of the 1901 standards for automotive fire apparatus, This will be the replacement of our 3rd engine if we're awarded. And the current engine that will, I think, be put on reserve was due for retirement in 2008. If we are awarded the new engine, will be housed at Fire Station number 2. And as with the prior 2 engines that we purchased, we'll be working with Houston Galveston Area Council Cooperative, HGAC BY is what they call it. And they're a council of government that has pretty much turned into a nationwide procurement agency. They go through and they do all the procurement processes, and it meets the guidelines and standards for HUD and several other the federal procurement guidelines. So we're able to actually choose off of their list for a vendor that meets our best needs for the fire engine and the components that we want to have on it. And the 2, I think, main development or the companies that we work with on the engines that we purchased is Hughes Fire Equipment, and I think the Pierce is actually the name of the type of engine that we'll be buying. So Chief Nickerson received a preliminary pricing quote on October 26th. The proposal price is $695,284, which is approximately $95,000 more than the previous engine that we purchased. And if we take advantage of all of the prepaid discounts and pay the total cost up front, we get to subtract all the discounts. So the purchase price would be $669,935. And that amount has to be paid at the time they receive the order. So basically what we had done in the past is once we received the grant request and we had a signed contract or approval from the Department of Commerce, then we could move forward. So we're looking at a grant request of 50% of the purchase price of $335,000. I spoke with some other folks that are also submitting applications, and I was told that there are 24 applications going in for this round of funding, which is more than they've had in probably 10 years for one round. They have between 1.2 and 1.5 million. And some of those applications, those cities or counties are under a consent decree where their sewer or water, wastewater, something is not going right, and DEQ's put a consent order on them to get their infrastructure up to date and safe for the public. So I went ahead and just went with the 50% that was recommended by the Department of Commerce staff, knowing that it's going to be a highly competitive process. I was also told that depending upon the infrastructure bill that was approved last week, HUD may receive additional funding for all of their programs, which will then go filter down to the cities in the states, or to the state then to come down to the cities and counties that are eligible for this program. So the final decision for these applications are made March, I think it is. The EAC, which is the Economic Advisory Council that reviews these, and Paul Kimmel is our representative for District 2, they will meet in January, and then normally staff may vet some things, then they come back and ask us for an addendum possibly, or clarification, an updated quote, And then it goes for a final review, and then it goes off to the governor, usually in February or late March. So that would be the process. I'm hoping to get this application out of here on the 18th. Its last deadline is the 19th, but we have to email a copy and submit a hard copy postmarked by the 19th. So is there any questions regarding anything that I could answer? before?
Questions for Lisa prior to me opening up the public hearing?
Well,
I
Gina?
do have one. Tell me what your statement about the water infrastructure, you said there were some cities that were under a consent, something or other. What does that mean?
Consent decree. And Bill could probably explain this a little bit better than me, but it means that they've made their water's been tested and it doesn't meet the safety criteria or standards. I'm not quite sure for a sewer system how that is done.
And the CDBG funds are obligated?
I think they
Why does that fit
prioritize,
into-
I think they prioritize funding for cities that are in a situation such as that. So maybe their sanitary sewer system is not up to current standards and may deny them any future connections to that system, or maybe that their water system is in a similar situation, whether it's deficient production, conveyance, storage capacity, or fire flow. They can be directed that they need to correct that issue, and that's a strong case to be made when you're seeking a grant application.
Sure,
Is if
yeah.
you're in that situation.
Okay.
Brandy?
One, if, could they, with how many people are searching for this, could they award a lesser amount than you have applied for, or it's this amount or nothing?
They could ask us if we would want to accept a lesser amount, and of course we would
Yeah.
accept whatever we could
Advisable.
be awarded.
Okay, thank you.
Just final comments here. As you saw that the engines are made in Florida, but it will take 12 to 16 months for it to be built
Mhm.
once we place the order. And so that would put us into June through December of 2023 for arrival.
I want to say it was nice to have the video. I thought it was like a car, fire truck just shows up, all assembled. And the idea that people had to like put it together here, it was just fascinating. Thank you.
And to Elisa's point, these things take a year to 16 months to build, and they're very
Yeah.
particular on how they do it, so it does take a while. Okay, any other questions for, okay, well, thank you, Elisa. We will open the public hearing at 7:22, so anybody who would like to speak on this, please come up, give us your name and address, and tell us what you think. Well, we will close the public hearing at 7:23, so I'll turn this over to council.
So Mayor, on my CCSR for my report, for my recommendations, we have approval to submit the grant application, and then also there's a certificate of assurances and the communications plan for the city, or citizen participation plan. That are the three documents that we would need the mayor's signature on with the submittal of the application.
Okay, well, who wants to go with this? Gina?
I'll try it. Okay, Your Honor, I move that we approve the submittal of a funding request to the Idaho Department of Commerce under the Idaho Community Block Grant Program for an amount not to exceed $500,000 to assist with the purchase of a new fire engine under the Public Facilities Funding category, and I move approval of the certifications and assurances and a citizen participation plan to be included in the grant app.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Gina and a second by Sandra to approve the submittal of a funding request to the Idaho Department of Commerce under the Idaho Community Block Grant Program for an amount not to exceed $500,000 to assist with the purchase of a new fire engine under Public Facilities Funding category, and approval of the certifications and assurances and a citizen's participation plan to be included in the grant application. Brandy.
I have one question. Is there any reason to, it should say the 335 that you're planning on, or is it
So-
better to have that?
At the time that we put our staff reports out last week, I had not had my final conversations. I had those this morning. So if we could note for the minutes that the application will be for 335,000. Thank you.
Okay,
Would you just like to amend the motion?
I
to
would
that?
like to amend it from
Strike out-
500,000 to 335,000.
Okay,
I'll still second that.
okay, well, we'll strike out that 500,000, go with 335. Okay, I'll start the roll. Brandy.
Aye.
Art.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
And Maureen.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. This has been kind of a short meeting, folks, so we'll go right into workshop or reports with Arthur. Unless you want to go into a workshop, Art.
I don't want to do a
What? We're getting kind of used to those, aren't we? So we're, okay, Art, what do you have for
Well,
us?
we've got the Farmers Market Commission who elected their officers for next year, discussed the craft and food jurying process that needs to be done before the start of next year's farmer market. Also went to work with some policies and procedures centered around not only the craft and food jurying, but also taking a harder look at the agricultural producers for their compliance with sustainability and public health issues out on their farms. So they're going to be looking at that for policies before we get into the next season to let the potential vendors know ahead of time what's going to happen, that there's going to be some looking at public health issues for issues like E. coli on vegetables or something like that needs to be treated. And also there was a lengthy discussion on what is local. So currently defined as 200 air miles from here, but there's some people who want to reduce that to 150 or even 100, which would have impacts on the market. So they are busy looking at that very hard about what exactly does local mean in terms of the farmer market vendors.
Okay.
Oh, and also last Thursday, we had the Veterans Day banquet at the University of Idaho, which was a really well-done event for the benefit of the veterans in the area and with an emphasis on the broader veterans work that they do for all of us.
Brandy.
The Parks and Recreation Commission, and there was review and discussion of the ideas that were generated at the strategic planning workshop. So that is moving along under the assistance of Jen Piffner, who's been incorporating all of that and bringing it back to the commission for more fine tuning. A few reports from that people might find interesting. It's the largest soccer enrollment in 3 years this year. Soccer was finishing up. It's probably done now because that was late October. Basketball at that time was starting up. The pool structure is just about completed, and the pickleball courts are open. So lots of recreational things going on in Parks and Rec these days. The Arts Commission met and they had a shorter agenda this time around. The main thing that was discussed was they received a proposal for the next round of the MACtivities toolbox. And so that was the main agenda item there. That's all I have. And we have, Arthur and I have Moscow Urban Renewal Agency coming up this week. And correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank
Thursday
you.
morning at 7
Right,
o'clock.
yeah, okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Brandy. Sandra.
I had Pathways Commission, and it was a shorter meeting, but we did a recap of their ride through town, which was pretty successful. I know you went on that.
Wow.
Talking a little bit about what we might be able to do differently next time to maybe every other year, every couple years, it was batted around the idea of maybe doing it on a Saturday and starting for farmers market so more families could get involved rather than just a 5 o'clock start. So that was good to hear.
Good idea.
Talked about the new pathway ideas coming from the I believe Woodbury edition. David showed us some nice things that went on with Parks and Rec. So he just used that same slide, I believe, and showed us what they were thinking. And so that was good to see. And then we had a fun discussion about the orphan pathways throughout town, sort of the hidden paths that go throughout town and where they are. And some folks are taking pictures of them to try and get a little map of them. And they're little hidden gems all throughout Moscow. They're pretty fun. I didn't know about them until I was on the commission. And so it's been fun to try and find those little pathways throughout town. So a very active group that doesn't always get a lot of recognition for the great things they do around town. They're pretty fun.
Awesome. Gina.
I too attended the Veterans Dinner, and I run the gamut of so proud of what our nation stands for, and I cry because we sing the national anthem, and then I get involved in Operation Education. So I got all, it was a very, very well done event, and the speaker was funny, and he got all kinds of names wrong and everything, but he was just a really nice, motivating guy. So it was nice event. The Transportation Commission was canceled. That was going to be this week. The Fair and Affordable Housing Commission did meet, and they voted on the finalization of the survey that they were working on that was really, really, really a long-term thing. And it's final pending any administrative or legal changes. They discussed the ARPA workshop that we had, seems like years ago. And they were talking about the allocation of the affordable housing dollars and the ARPA CARES money. And they were continuing their discussion about how to help those who are, potentially help those who are facing eviction with the money. And they, let's see, Amy Henrik will be sending out a flyer later to, they can direct people to the application site. And I believe that's is that on our website?
For the
For the affordable housing or for the survey? I'm not really clear.
I'm not sure what she was referring to.
Okay, well, that's what you get for notes about the meeting instead of being able to attend it. But basically, there is well, I won't say it because it's not going to make any sense to anybody. And they canceled their December meeting. So,
Okay.
P&Z was canceled, so there's nothing to report on that. And then human rights are coming up this weekend. That's canceled as well. There's less business
Wow.
going on right now.
Well, we're getting close to the holiday. I mean, we're only a week and a few days away from Thanksgiving and then Christmas, so there will be cancellations of a number of meetings over this next 5 or 6 weeks. I do have a few things. In this very room here, we had the Manan Sheikh Award on November the 4th, and a lady by the name of Kathy Sprague won that, and very deserving, from the West Side Food Pantry, which she got going in March of 2020 with the COVID. It's done wonderful things, and they turned that back room into a cooling center during the very hot weather this summer. And that was a good event. We had a good time with that, and she's very well deserving of it. We did have a terminal workshop that we talked about in here on November the 8th as well, and I just wanted to bring that up because that was a huge step for us and one more thing for us to help kind of lead the charge and lead the way in a lot of things that the city of Moscow does. And I was very proud of this council for moving forward with that endeavor. And as Art and Gina both talked about, on November 11th, we had the Veterans Day dinner, and of course the Chamber of Commerce, led by Samantha Martinet, was really the key sponsor of that. And we had a ton of sponsors throughout the entire city that were part of that, mostly from chamber members. And it was very enlightening. Anybody on a Veterans Day dinner, and that Sergeant Major wasn't really quite the guy that was keynote speaker. Man, I went up to him, met him afterwards, he gave me one of my cards, and I said, man, you had to be tough as nails being back in the day, because he started in the Marine Corps in 1968, had a 31-year career with the Marine Corps, but he was a real plain-spoken guy that was very easy for people to understand. But really, anybody who knows anything about the military, and I was never in the military, but I can tell you what, the sergeants rule the roost when it comes to your privates and your corporals, and really how the behavior of your non-commissioned officers. And the Sergeant Major, by the way, is the highest non-commissioned officer that you can have in the Marine Corps as well as the Army. I can't speak about the other branches. And then it was just, like I said, a wonderful night. So thank you very much, Gina, for being there, as well as Todd and David Art. That was great. We've got an airport board meeting on November 17th, this coming Wednesday, so we'll see, hopefully, and get a little bit more information about what happens with the city of Pullman, so on and so forth, and we'll go from there. And of course, I'll report that back at our next meeting. With that, Gary, do we have any reports for us, sir?
Nothing further.
Well, with that, folks, I'd entertain an adjournment at 7:35. You all
So moved.
All moved. Everybody in favor?
All right.
7:35. Thank you, everybody, for being here. That has to be